Some guys really like Batman, and they had an epiphany. So they all got to work on the next Batman movie. And now they are the heroes, and you get to follow along. They're bringing him to life every week after this song. Batman, Project Batman, Project Batman. Fuck yeah!
Hey, this is Otto. Welcome to the 7th episode of Project Batman. What we're here to do today is try and break down the story of probably one of the best Batman films ever made, Batman Beyond: Return of the Joker. We're going to sit there and watch this. You guys can cue it up if you want, or you can just... we're going to try and remain talking the whole time, so even if you don't have the movie handy, you can still listen to the podcast and get some nice knowledge out of it.
But it could make for a fun commentary track. If you want to follow along.
Last week's definitely did.
Yeah.
I was surprised we made it through last week's just talking the whole time. I thought it worked out rather well.
And so, with me, of course, is Ken.
Hey.
And Sean.
Hello.
Also, probably popping in intermittently are Kristen. Say hello, Kristen. Hello. Jason and Tony. They may or may not pop in if they so choose.
And I guess again, this didn't work out so well last time. And if it happens, it happens. If not, it won't. If it doesn't happen this time, we'll do it next time. But we're looking for plot breaks, like act breaks.
Yeah, and actually, I've got a pretty good idea of where they are in this movie, having just watched it by myself like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, and this is actually only my second time seeing this movie, so I'm not as familiar with it. So this should be interesting.
Oh, okay. If Mr. Scene would kindly hit the play button on the computer.
Right, wait, hold on. Right now we are paused on the Warner Brothers logo. There is no Bugs Bunny in sight. And right now we're going to unpause. Alright. There's Bugs.
Yeah, we'll speak along with a line or whatever.
Yeah.
Fade in from black.
Oh man, Batman Beyond artwork.
Oh, black guy's first to die.
They're, of course, spoiler alert, are Harley Quinn's granddaughters. I'm spoiling it for everyone right at the beginning.
Hopefully you're watching this having already seen this, because if not, then you're...
I've never seen
We've instructed you in... We've instructed you in previous episodes, watch this movie, so...
I did it.
Right. Yeah, definitely watch this movie before listening to this. If you're just following along with our show and haven't seen this movie for some reason, skip this episode and come back later. We'll talk about it next week, I'm sure. Okay, so this movie starts out in typical Batman style, which is our baddies doing something bad. Mm-hmm. And usually just henchmen. Just not really bad baddies.
And there's our friend.
Entering with snappy one-liner.
Terry always did that a lot more than Bruce did.
Wayne.
Yeah. He's the comic relief Batman.
Terry's more fun, no doubt about it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Some people seem to have a problem with Batman Beyond because it's more juvenile, but...
he's 17.
But it works. It all works on a story level. It's still very mature, I think.
Oh, I mean...
And very Batman.
This is probably the best put together story of the entire DCAU.
Oh, yeah. Agreed. Of what I've seen.
I mean, I think I've seen...
That was Scarecrow, right?
Copycat villain. His name's Ghul. These guys are they're part of a sort of gang called the Jokers that sort of take after the original Joker. There's a bunch of copycat villains.
Uh-oh.
There's an episode of Justice League Unlimited where they actually kill him in like an alternate timeline. Like you see him die, like they come back and they fucking kill him.
Kill who?
They kill Terry.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Looks like he's about to get killed right now.
I know.
Oh yeah, he's kind of getting his ass kicked. And then he's like, "Get the fuck off me!" Where the hell did he find that? He's just dragging a sledgehammer around.
Bad guys always know how to work all the crazy mechanics. I think I've said this before, but no one ever questions it, and that amuses me.
Fucking really well done score here by
Wait,
Christopher
Why is
McQuiston.
there city now?
Huh?
It's like an underground city.
No, they were in a building that the loading port was on the bottom now that they can fly shit around. I mean, this is 40 years into the future of a story where the technology was already pretty advanced in the first place.
Should there have been propellers in that yellow thing?
Such a extended action sequence.
It works with some other method of
What are you doing, man? I'm trying to
levitation.
save your bitch.
I love this. You start out with this really overblown action sequence, and it's
It's the perfect way to start a movie.
well, yeah. And the thing is that it really works with it really works with sort of the writing methods we've been looking at. You know, it's just like the first sentence of your screenplay should sort of describe the world that you're working in, and that's what they're doing. It's like this is where we are. This is where you're going to hang out for the next hour or so.
Since we're not that deep into the plot, I figured this might be a good time to bring up something I was thinking about. I was taking notes, listening to our previous episodes, taking notes of like things we had said before, and our opening scene we had.
What is the whole thing following me was that chip?
Our opening scene we had a bank robbery that resulted in Batman getting shot and feeling like he was too old, and that like him having that feeling right at the beginning. And I was just thinking, what if we had it open with a scene where Batman, we're watching the transformation of Batman from like the ultimate hero to getting older and having to create a new suit. So what if we had him at the beginning be the ultimate hero that we still remember him as and not have any trouble with a bad guy? Maybe he has to be cunning and not so much as strong or whatever and physical to defeat somebody. And it's just a simple little intro sequence that makes everybody feel like, oh, we're in the Batman world again. I don't know who we would use. We could use any villain that could, I don't know, maybe could ultimately be getting something for Raish that could be revealed later. That's how we could tie it all together. That part's not important, but maybe have this opening sequence where we see Batman win and not have any thought about that, and then maybe 10-15 minutes in, that's when we have a sequence where he has to get a little more physical and get shot, and it shows the difference, the juxtaposition of like he's still the same great detective, awesome, cunning guy. He's just physically getting older, and there's nothing he can do about it. And back to back with like Raish, like never aging, and Batman insisting on, or not insisting on, not aging, but just, aging naturally.
Well, the Piper and I actually had a conversation about this too. I'm gonna be honest, I don't like the idea, I understand where you're going with the whole, introduce that, Batman is still really good at being Batman. But the thing is, again, trying to get in, we want to jump into the story here, and it's like that we have to set up the world that he's in, and if we set it up and then we wait 15 minutes to introduce that, then that goes against the whole. I mean, one, that it really hurt our whole page 17 goal for starting to shun the apocalypse in as a major plot device. I know one thing about screenplays, generally speaking, a minute of on-screen time is represented by one page of the screenplay.
Right. And
so we'd have that. But her and I talked, and we were thinking about a kind of...
And I'm sorry, just real quick. Obviously, the pacing of how a normal script goes is a little... you have more time because you're going for 120 pages, whereas this we're going for 75, 85, something like that. Mm-hmm. So when I'm saying 10, 15 minutes, I was thinking in the sense of a normal screenplay, it would in reality be 4 or 5 minutes in this world of a economy-friendly Batman screenplay, the way they produce those. But like I said, it was just an idea I was having earlier, but go ahead with what you're saying.
Here's the idea I had. I'm just sort of fleshing out the whole okay, so I'm thinking the movie opens with a cold open that Ra's al Ghul, the movie starts with him. The first scene with Batman will be the following scene after the opening credits, but basically Ra's says something, he decides on a target. Now, I thought of something to keep to keep everyone on their toes, and to make sure that nobody can get a lead on him. Every attack's going to be a surprise. He's pretty much picking his targets randomly. He knows that there's not anything they're going to be able to do against it, and without anybody seeing any sort of pattern, then it's going to be harder to figure out what city's next. People can't even bother to evacuate it. They're just, he's trying to cause complete chaos here. And so the idea of him picking just completely random cities, and this goes through, the opening scene is him randomly selecting the first city. And then you see Paris pretty much just get wiped out and the entire population is killed. And then he gets a report back immediately from one of his spies and says it worked, and he's like, okay, so who's next? And then that's when it goes into our credits, and we'll come up with a nice opening sequence. And then after the whole after that, we actually start off, our first scene in Gotham City is actually Jim Gordon and Batman talking. Perhaps they're in a cafe, perhaps they're at the police station, but this is probably be the only appearance of Jim Gordon in the film. We've been talking about wanting to include him in some way, or at least Sean has, but there's not. I can't really think of a way, and of course, if we think of this later, we can sort of, if we think it. But basically, I'm thinking if we have him at the first part of the story, he doesn't really have to be. He'll be there before the whole story is established, and sort of almost as a cameo. And him and Batman are talking about something or other, and Gordon gets on his police radio news of a bank robbery. and that's where Batman goes, and that's, you know, then he gets shot, and that sets up the whole thing. And I had an idea in their conversation. You know, Gordon's talking about, you know, getting too old for this stuff. He thinks he's going to retire within the next couple of years. He'll say something to the tune of, you know, Barbara once made an offhand comment about being police commissioner. Can you imagine that? My daughter, the police commissioner of Gotham. You know, some tongue-in-cheek joke.
Right.
And then on top of that, we've got the thing is, of course we'll figure this out later, but I'm really liking the idea of Batman just getting hurt early on. It gives us more time to get into the rest of the story. Like, we know who he is.
Right.
We know that this is his, what we're actually showing is his first major fuck up.
Right.
You know, we know that he's been fighting crime in Gotham for 25 years or so now. I mean, it's just this is where I'm coming in on it.
Okay, and let me just say that, like, when like I said, I just listened to all these episodes that we've already done over again, and when I'm shooting out an idea, feel free. You don't feel bad about giving me your honest opinion. I will not be offended. Like, it's just an idea I had, and nothing is concrete, and I'm not sold on any idea even I have. That's why we're doing this, is so we can see what everybody thinks about it. And another thing is that I feel like when I am offering dialogue for characters, you guys think I'm trying to be very exact, but I'm really just trying to communicate an idea of, like, what that character is trying to communicate. I don't have it all written out, so don't be specific on the words. It's just what I'm trying to get across. But if I may counter what you were saying a second ago, just for a second, just hear me out.
Okay.
In an episodic world, I feel like it would make sense. Like, you know, if you think about a lot of animated series episodes, it starts out in some shit. But that's because you're already within a story. We understand the Batman world in a continuous tale. But in any movie version of anything, it always seems like everything's normal at the start of it. You know, Spider-Man is just Peter Parker, and then he gets bitten by the spider, and that's the page 17 rule, which of course in this world would be sooner because it's a much shorter film. And that's when the change of the movie starts to happen. So you see a full transformation of a character as opposed to a continuing tale. You know, in Batman, any of the 3 Nolan movies, I mean, I can use that example too. At the beginning of Batman Begins, he's just Bruce Wayne, then he becomes Batman later. At the beginning of The Dark Knight, you know, he is trying to deal with this Joker situation, and, well, I don't know, I guess that's because that's in the middle of a trilogy, that sort of makes sense. There's action going on through the whole thing, but even in The Dark Knight Rises, you know, he's retired, and then he has to find a reason to become Batman again, and that's what The Dark Knight Rises in essence is about. And in those screenwriting rules, it's about having page 17 be that point of where, you know, that's when your movie kicks in, that's what you can tell people about what's happening. That's why I feel like a little bit into the movie is when he should decide, I'm getting too old, something needs to happen. And when I say a little bit in, I don't mean 17 minutes in. I'm saying we see him be Batman, we remember him being awesome and clever as Batman, and then we realize that, like, surprise is an element of filmmaking. Then you have to go, oh shit, he got hurt, we just saw him be awesome, and now our Batman that we saw him being awesome a minute ago is wounded, and what's going to happen next? Like,
can't we combine it into the same scene? Think about it.
I guess you're right. It could be like an extended action sequence.
Yeah, I mean, he's sitting there. I mean, look, we're hardly 10 minutes into this movie. Already, the main villain has showed up. He's announced himself to the world. You know, he's introducing himself to new Batman right now. You know, they're jumping into the story. Especially, I watched Over the Edge a couple of days ago. Just to, it's one of those things you just got to watch, because Piper hadn't seen it before, and I told her to watch it, and then I felt like I needed to watch it again. And one of the craziest things about that episode. They jump right in.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
It starts out in the shit.
yeah. I mean, you already just bleh. And it's like
That's like an element of TV though. That's a surprising, like, that's how TV works. You open like in a situation that you don't feel like you should be in. And like, but I agree with what you were saying a second ago. Like, you're absolutely right. Well, we're not even 10 minutes into this movie and tons of shit has happened. And I guess like when I was writing out the notes, just the way we had chronologically laid it out, maybe it seemed like it happened too soon, like, because that's the first thing we have happen. But you're right, like, the opening sequence of this movie, it was, like, a very extended action sequence, and we can see Batman be, like, awesome and kick some ass for a minute, and then we can see him, like, later in that fight, you know, stumble and be like, oh, shit, what's gonna happen now? You're absolutely right, and this is why we talk about it and have ideas together, but,
I mean, I'm thinking, you know, sort of having, you know, sort of a moment of peace for him at the beginning when he's talking to Jim Gordon, you know, just...
I like that Gordon scene.
You know, it's just is talking about... And at this point, this is important for that scene, is that we just got into a new act, I think. When the Joker introduced himself, I think that was...
Yeah, I'd say that's the beginning of a new act.
I agree. Because that kicked our characters into a different course of action. Before they were just doing their jobs. Now they're like having to deal with the situation, focus on one thing.
But the thing with Gordon at this point, he knows who Batman is. I'm thinking, because I've done some looking in on it, and I'm pretty sure that it's implied in Over the Edge. You know, at least I'm taking it as it being implied that Commissioner Gordon knows already that. But
I love how ambiguous it is.
I mean, yeah, it's really ambiguous. But I'm thinking, but they say in the flashback in this that the only people who knew what happened were the doctor taking care of Tim and Commissioner Gordon. And so they told him about what happened, and I'm guessing at least at that point that Barbara let her father know, yeah, I'm in this shit.
Right.
But yeah, I'm thinking at this point they at least have that Gordon and Batman at least have some mutual understanding of, you know, Gordon knows, but...
Give me a shot of this. Okay, they're talking about whatever, and then Gordon's scanner goes off. You know, cut to just like his scanner on his belt or whatever, and he picks it up and he's listening to it or just hears it, and, you know, we just see Gordon, and then he goes to turn around to Batman. Batman's gone, of course.
Yeah.
And then we just see Gordon smile. He knows where he's going, and we hear him say, "See you, Bruce." To himself.
I like it.
Like, we didn't know before that moment that he knew. And that's when we know. It's like Batman's not even around.
That's clever. Because I want to, I wanted to kind of have a hint of, you know, like, Gordon wondered what was going on with, because at this point, Bruce Wayne and Barbara dated for a little while, and then they broke it off shortly after the flashback events in this film. And they, I was wondering if he'd mentioned that, but probably not important. I like that better.
Okay. Or go get him, Bruce. Not see you, Bruce. Something along those lines.
Yeah, I like it.
Let's see him get this puppy.
I had actually thought about having some sort of nod to him. The thing is that this dog couldn't have possibly existed prior to, like, 2030.
He's a genetically engineered dog. That's why he's so amazing.
They think fans have speculated that that dog's name is Ace, and they think that he may have named that dog after Ace from Justice League Unlimited, the girl who died in Epilogue, from the Royal Flush Gang.
That makes sense.
Yeah, But yeah, you took the suit, but it's still there on the. I'm thinking that there's actually multiple of that suit, and I'm thinking that he has backups stashed somewhere, because he's usually carrying one in his backpack, and it's always sitting there on the display case, no matter what. So
yeah, he probably makes doubles of all of his suits. Those are just his trophies.
Mm-hmm. I noticed he has Nightwing's suit. They must have gotten back on at least somewhat decent terms after Nightwing retired. I wanted to have a nod to that, but that ended up going against my whole we don't want to have too much shit going on at once sort of thing. Bruce is a really bitter old man.
Really
yeah,
is.
see, he had... There's the suit, and then there's the suit. There's two suits on screen right now.
Right, yeah.
But... Milk. Milk brand milk. And kid brand brother. But anyway, Alright,
so what did Bruce and Terry just argue about?
Terry wanted more information on the Joker so that he would be ready to fight him, and Bruce said, "I want you to give back the Batsuit. I don't want you going up against this guy." But
that seems like the end of an act. Terry made a decision not to work for Mr. Wayne.
Yeah,
he
he sort of quit.
That seems like the end of an act, sort of, maybe.
Okay, so that would that make this act 3?
Yeah, so that would mean that this act would make it seem like the film's going into a different direction. Is that what I remember from the Snowflake?
Okay. Or this might... That could have been part of the break between Act 1 and 2. You know, Joker shows up, Bruce says that's too intense for Terry, that pisses Terry off, so Terry quits. That's all one action.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just speculate about it during and then put it together at the end.
Yeah. But,
I love how this mirrors the opening montage with the people dancing of the Batman Beyond cartoon.
Yeah, a bit. I love how those girls all got mad at these two. Yeah, we're just gonna make sexy moves all over your boyfriend, and then this guy's gonna commence the rape, and then these two are gonna use some sort of poison. But then this crap happens, and he's sitting there.
Aww.
But
I hate hearing a dog get hurt.
that little smile that's on everything. And he's like, "Where's that crap? Why didn't I bring it with me?" Where's Batman when you need him? Oh wait, he's right there. It's not working. Yeah, see, that's not very nice. I have to wonder how differently this. I have to wonder how differently this story would have gone if Bruce hadn't sort of cut Terry off at this point, and Terry was there when the Joker attacked, which I'm guessing is what Joker intended.
Oh, yeah.
I-
Probably.
That had happened, and he had gotten them both out of commission. I mean, he knew where the Batcave was. You know, the Batcave seems a lot smaller in Beyond than it does in the animated series.
That's because as you get older, everything looks smaller, Vincent. Think about when you were a child, how big your sandwiches were. Now go make a PB&J. You'll have it done in a second.
But then at this point, you're sitting here like these guys must be at least 25, 30 feet tall for that logic to hold.
No, I know. I'm just kidding. I like these giant lava lamps in this nightclub. It's very futuristic.
Here, take this.
I want each corner of my house to be one of those giant lava lamps.
I don't know how structurally sound that would be. It would take a lot of energy to run something like that too.
This is the future. They don't worry about energy in the future.
You know, that's true. How the hell else are they gonna power something like the Batsuit, which has no visible spot for a large battery pack and can enable Terry to fly for very long periods of time?
I know they're not related, but I explain it off by saying, well, remember Tony Stark invented sustainable energy in 2012. Sustainable clean energy, I mean.
I mean, I know that's going to be a small, maybe not plot device, but at least issue for Batman with the in our movie with the he'll only have a limited time on his jump jets or his cloaking.
Right. Have to like charge his suit.
No, it'll like recharge itself after a time. You know, a lot of things can do that, and or at least I've seen stuff work that way.
We could do our own version of the crazy scientific explanation that people just have to believe, like all movies do, where like the scientist or somebody explains how something works and the audience goes, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then scientists see it and they're like, that makes no sense at all.
Well, I was thinking about doing something like that where he's actually explaining some features of the suit. Like, for example, the two blades that he has on his arm, it's shown in an episode of Batman Beyond that those blades can actually extend and, you know, to like 3 or 4 times their length.
Right.
I figured I had to explain that. In Mystery of the Batwoman, there's this woman, she invents some sort of, you know, metallic compound. It's like this memory metal that'll change shape to however you want to program it. I'm thinking, you know, he met this woman several times. It's possible that he ended up getting that metal or at least inventing something similar to it through his own designs, and then he uses that to his advantage with that. And I'm thinking maybe that's even what the wings are made out of. You know, real thin, you know, almost foil-like version of that.
Right.
They don't exactly seem very fabric-y to me, but that's just me.
Yeah.
It's difficult to tell in stuff like animation.
There's those bloody Haas.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what he saw when he walked in on his father murdered.
Oh, right, yeah.
So he's concerned.
Holy fuck. I was scared as shit the first time I saw this.
Is that Batman?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He almost got to walk in and see his real father murdered like that.
Yeah. Yeah, Real Father Part 2.
I need a table.
Tables are funny.
Oh, okay, the Batcave is actually a lot bigger. This is just an alcove. It goes all through that. But I'm thinking that's about the end of an act there.
Yeah, like they both are back with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Terry and Batman. Terry and Batman. Because Terry isn't Batman now.
And I'm thinking this flashback here that she's about to go into. Please fix that.
Whether you donate money or time, you're helping big brothers, big sisters help a child. Start something today.
Sorry, their daughter loves to play with the radio at the least opportune moments. But, like, I'm thinking this flashback here is an act all by itself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very extended sequence of the movie. I mean, the whole flashback's like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. And it explains a lot that makes us go straight into the second half of the movie.
This is Jordan Price guy that... Terry doesn't like him. He's just sitting there scowling. He's just like, I don't like you.
Who is this guy?
He's sort of hinted at him. It's sort of hinted at him being the Joker, but the first time I saw this, I never caught any of those hints.
Yeah, I didn't catch that.
He's supposed to be sort of a red herring, sort of like Andrea and her father in Mask of the Phantasm.
Right. Right. That's interesting.
Barbara, I'm a part of this. I need the answers Bruce can't give me. I deserve it.
But
And here we go into the coolest thing.
yeah, this is nuts. We get to.
I thought talking about it would get easier with time, but some hurts never go away. Dick Grayson, had left us.
In what we're doing, this like us figuring out when we can do what cool thing in the story. Seeing something like this makes me wonder, like, at what point are they like, oh man, we could incorporate a Batman animated series flashback in this movie. It just makes me, the more we do this, the more it makes me wonder what makes certain writers make certain decisions no matter what I'm watching.
Yeah, what's interesting about this is they actually entirely switched animation styles.
Yeah,
for this.
it's so cool.
You'd think he'd have recognized Harley's voice when she was screaming for help. I mean, I'd have recognized that.
Yeah, and you'd think after all they've been through, Harley would think to change her voice when she's in a costume.
It was never implied that she was particularly bright, except for the fact that she was like a doctor. Here's some hookers. He didn't look very happy.
For 3 agonizing weeks, there was nothing. Then one night, we were sent an invitation.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
That's just one of the creepiest things ever.
Oh yeah. Jack in the Boxes are never and they're foul, demonic things in any sense of the word. Did it just suddenly start raining, or? I think it did.
It's always a bad omen. Things are about to get dark when it starts raining. Sorry if I'm overly silent this episode, people. I'm just caught up in the beauty of this film.
Me too. This scene is always crazy to watch.
Brilliant flashback.
Oh yeah, no, it's this scene by itself could have almost been a movie.
Yeah, it's like an episode of the show, sort of. It's a perfect example of using a flashback to show so much more of a story, like maybe like we were trying to do on a smaller scale with Arash info about his past. Mm-hmm. Something we still need to flesh out, but you know.
Yeah.
That's why it's nice seeing Batman being Batman again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really. I'm sure
that's why Disappearing Ink was such a good episode of Batman Beyond. It's just like, 80 years old and still kicking ass.
Yeah, I wonder if they promoted this movie with having Batman in it at all, or if it was like a complete surprise the first time the general audience saw it.
I didn't see this movie until a couple of years after it came out.
I do like Batman Beyond, but sometimes you just really want Batman back.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But and it's just, this is the DCAU Joker at the absolute best. I mean, he's dark, but he's funny. I mean, he's just Mark Hamill has always been the perfect, brilliant mix of everything the Joker needs to be.
Totally.
And it's like,
How old is Harley Quinn? Does she know age?
No, she does. How old is Harley Quinn in this film?
probably, I mean, she wasn't very old when she started being Harley Quinn. She's probably
60, 70?
at the end of the film,
Yeah.
not anywhere near at the end of the film, she's probably in her 70s. Here in this flashback,
She's probably like
Oh, this is a
20 something.
yeah, and she's about Batgirl's age, I think.
she was old
Maybe a
enough to
little
be.
older.
She was old enough to be a working nurse when she started with.
Now, see,
the
look
Joker.
at that.
Yep.
He
Okay.
went.
Yeah. Started
Okay.
this.
Okay. Now we're watching this.
We just revealed. In case you're not watching along with us, it was just revealed that Robin was turned into a little mini Joker.
And Batman threw a knife at the Joker's face. He almost broke his one vow and aimed to kill. This justifies our ending in Batman Immortal with... Batman doesn't technically kill Ra's al Ghul, but it could be argued that because he takes away Ra's immortality and allows old age to do the rest of the work. Hey, he says this to Ra's, but a lot of people would argue, hey, no, he committed a murder here. But no, it's shown that Batman, under enough pressure, at least this incarnation of Batman, under enough pressure, can cave and will attempt to kill if he needs to.
Also, I think Batman believes in justice, and it's just straight up unjust that Ra's has lived as long as he had without doing anything good. Like, I think that's reasoning in itself enough. Like, he had his chance at life, you know?
But it's like,
yeah, we missed one of my favorite lines. Go get mommy's bazooka.
But that bazooka holds a lot of bullets.
A lot of bullets. A lot of bazooka bullets.
Yeah, a lot of rockets, whatever. I love how they always use the bat silhouette shadow every time one of these people is, gliding in the air. You just see the bat shadow, no matter what their actual silhouette is shaped like.
This is a great little setup here for surprise. How they make you think that's just the end of her, and then at the end of the movie,
like I was super shocked the first time I saw it. I was like, "Holy shit!"
Me too.
Harley Quinn just died.
Yeah. Such a sweet reveal at the end when it's not. When it shows that she's not.
They almost cut it out of the movie. Actually, Paul Dini fought tooth and nail to get that kept in the movie. They wanted to cut it for time.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for these movies, apparently they have to fight for every single scene they make. But you got the plunger is a surgical tool on the table. But they it's just it's an absolute, and it's just, this is vile to watch. He's sitting here torturing like a 13, 14 some year old boy, and just laughing about it, interrogating him and all this crap. And this big shot here where the whole scene sort of revolves around Batman.
I love that Joker made sure all of this was well documented. He would get no pleasure out of anything he did if he didn't get to explain it all to Batman.
Yeah. That's so Joker. He's just like, I'll laugh even if this isn't funny.
Oh, of course.
And I mean,
that's the joke.
and Batman is just absolutely ripping into the Joker here with it. I mean, he is ready to kick the living shit out of Joker. And now, see, I wonder with this. This is a clever thing here. I, on the other hand, uses his other hand to distract Batman.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, well, making a joke about it right to his face.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I noticed that they're both bloodied up here.
Mm-hmm. In the same spot,
Mm-hmm.
too. Oh, man, this is crazy.
But yeah, this. Yeah, this scene is definitely an act in and of itself. The whole flashback, and this flashback's got to be almost.
I would say it would be Terry learning about this is the end of the act.
Yeah. I mean, it's where
him gaining the information of this is the act break.
Yeah, and Batman just watched the Joker hit the ground dead. It's like he doesn't. Yeah, I noticed something. He doesn't look any sort of sad or whatever. He just no, you're dead. Good.
Yeah.
Now I gotta worry about Tim. And
so Robin was still in there. Right, I mean, clearly.
Yeah, he deeply buried. Leslie Tompkins from the show was mentioned here to have gotten him back to sanity. But it's just like, I keep saying that phrase, it's just like, and then pause and then not say anything.
It's okay. Another thing you like to say is, I don't remember now. But I notice it when I'm editing. But I have a ton that I do too.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually cut them out of our episodes, but you listen to these two commentaries, and since they have to be on time, everybody will hear all of our little imperfections in our speech patterns.
Yeah, this is the raw file here. This is us at our finest. But now Terry suspects Robin. Correctly suspects Robin of being the Joker. But I mean, and now we're in a new act. He's decided, okay, I'm gonna investigate. Which I think, would this be Act 4?
I believe so. We just need to recognize places where we feel like there are act breaks, and then we'll figure it out at the end. But I think we're entering Act 4 now. Yes. Where things are about to go crazy. I remember the first time I saw this. At this point, it's maddening to be like, you're like, so how's the Joker back? She just said they buried the Joker. How's the Joker back? And they just throw it in your face with that line. And then the Joker reappeared. I'm just as surprised as anyone. But that's like that's one of the driving factors in this movie. It's like that's one of the things the audience wants the whole time, an explanation for why the Joker's back. And that gets me thinking, like, what's the driving factor? What does the audience want the whole time in our movie? Mm-hmm. Is it to see, they follow Talia and Bruce, and they have a little romantic thing, and they're like, oh, where's this? How's this hardcore fans, where the relationship's going to end up, but on a just film standalone basis, like, that could be like. I feel like romance is a big part of, like, what's going on in our movie. And it could be like, well, this is a difficult relationship with Raish being her father.
That's the only thing that's kept her from marrying him. I mean, he's always had feelings for her. It's expressed every time they meet.
Yeah, so that's like sort of, I feel like that's what drives our story, is like, how will that relationship between the three of them resolve itself? Mm-hmm. Also, along with, how is the world gonna be saved?
What do you got? I mean, with all these people dying, I mean, the number that keeps popping into my head is 800 million. 800 million people die in this conflict.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. I mean, he gets a pretty good way through taking stuff out.
How dark do we get? Do we show buildings falling on top of people?
I mean, I don't think there's going to be a lot of on-screen gory death or anything like that. I'm thinking the only time that we would actually see someone die on screen is you see Alfred, and you see the Clock King, and you see Talia, kind of. I mean, you're sort of in her head, so I guess you don't really see her die. But a weird thing. I've actually got a thing for Sean about that when he comes back in here. But yeah, I mean, like, for the most part, a lot of the deaths aren't going to be on screen per se. I mean, I'm thinking, like, well, at the beginning, we're going to show the city getting hit with the Abaddon, just like this orange cloud that envelops the entire city of Paris.
People just dropping, or people age quickly, right? That's what it does?
Like, yeah, pretty much age just, like, right into dust. But then they, in this act, everything's building with the Joker. Yeah, well, it's completely going off on tangents. You're trying to watch a movie and
that's
do
fine.
Our side conversations. But, like, I'm envisioning an aerial view of this, and you see you just see an aerial view of Paris, and you just hear an entire city screaming.
Damn. And then silence.
And then silence. And, it shows a few deserted streets, a couple of cars crashed, some traces that there were once people there.
Right.
But, I mean, you see that suddenly everyone is gone.
Right. That's awesome. That's nuts and awesome.
You're not going to see the people just withering away all the time. And yes, there's going to be death in this story. Yes, there's going to be a lot of it.
But I think that's a very clever way to do it.
But yeah, I'm thinking just to sort of shove it in everyone's face is just. I mean, it almost feels demeaning to the audience.
Exactly, and they could. That's something they could pull off in this show. Not that we're adhering to, like, television guidelines, but that's it. It feels true to how they presented things, and it's a clever directorial choice on your part.
But it is like my inspiration for that, the whole screaming, is actually an account of the Titanic sinking.
Oh yeah.
One of the survivors on the lifeboat said they heard after the boat went under the water, after it was completely submerged, they heard the screaming. Whoa. From the passengers still on the boat.
Whoa.
I mean, you think of something that dark, and you apply it to this, and I mean, you can definitely.
Totally.
Yeah, now he knows for sure Robin's involved.
And how does? Oh, right.
What's weird is that Bruce doesn't suspect Robin at all. He's defending him here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cool thing about this movie is, like, Terry's stepping up and, like, being the guy that, like, is Batman, the Bruce character that we know.
Yeah, it's... I mean, I almost have to wonder if Bruce Wayne would have figured this out, given his preconceptions of Tim Drake. You know, he would not have thought.
Well, that's the beauty of this movie to me, is like they couldn't have done this if it weren't for each other. They had to do it together.
And the thing was, they say this very clearly in Paul Dini's director's commentary for this film, is that yes, there's an animated series flashback. Yes, this is Bruce's villain, but this is Terry's story.
Yeah.
And this is definitely, Terry's the main character here, as it is throughout all of Batman Beyond.
I totally agree.
But it's like, fortunately Terry's very likable, so we're not stuck with some stupid guy that we hate. But
some people don't like him.
I don't understand why.
Christian, who was here last week, does not like Terry or this show. Whatever.
I mean, I can understand his thing about the animation styles, because, I can't watch pretty much any cartoon nowadays because people have this weird idea that all cartoon characters should be noodles and all of their adventures should be fueled by acid.
Yeah. What? I know what you mean.
Every cartoon.
I mean, Adventure Time is cool, but I know what you mean.
Noodles and acid.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Spaghetti and LSD.
It's
like a new recipe that you can. This is a recipe for cartoons. Yeah. It's like an Italian dinner.
I'm not a fan of nonsense cartoons. That bugs the shit out of me. But that's a completely different tangent I could go off on forever. Let's get back into Batman. So the Joker has satellites in space that control destruction.
He actually doesn't own that satellite. He's just figured out how to hack into it. That's the United States Defense Satellite.
Well, Joker doesn't really own anything.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair point.
I mean, you can't really put your name on something when you don't have a name.
Yeah, it's great that they never gave him, like, a definitive... I mean, they hinted at sort of a backstory in Mask of the Phantasm, but notice they still didn't give his character a name.
Right.
And, they've always kept it deliberately ambiguous. And that's what kept Boba Fett so cool.
Exactly.
The fact that you don't know and you can speculate makes it all the more awesome. And that's one of the reasons that I kind of wanted to shy away from a direct origin story of Ra's al Ghul in our movie.
I've got to take a moment to point out, because I'm a Lost nerd, that they do that in Lost too, and that the big bad is called the Man in Black, and he never gets a name.
Yeah, you got stuff like that is just really cool.
Yeah,
but I love the animation thing here. It's just all shaded red inside the Batmobile.
Yeah, like it's all dark, but that's what's glowing. Mm-hmm. That's a reflection of him.
Hey, he's just sitting here. Yeah, this thing can fly, but you know what? Let me use this highway.
I mean, he needs to stay within the legal parameters till he knows what's going on, or at least until a giant space laser is chasing him.
That's something that a lot of people don't give Joker credit for. Even not just this Joker, but Joker always. His amazing ability to hack into communication software. Always was he broadcasting on television his exploits, or like he hacked most of the television in the United States to broadcast that he was holding Las Vegas hostage in Justice League.
Right, and you'll notice that the Joker never makes pop culture references because he has no time to keep up on TV. You better believe that when Batman's dealing with the Penguin or Bane or Poison Ivy or whoever, that Joker in that moment is studying up on his computer skills, his creating contraptions knowledge. He's staying and he's trying to keep up with Batman. That's what I believe. Joker doesn't take time off from being crazy Joker.
But the I can point out though that that he does make pop culture references.
Does he?
He actually made one in this film, in the flashback. He says, "Beneath all the sturm and batarangs, you're just an 8-year-old boy crying for mommy and daddy." Sturm and batarangs is actually a reference to, I believe, the novel Brave New World. Referencing the phrase Sturm und Drang, which is something that comes up in that book. It might be a different book, but
that's interesting nonetheless.
But yeah, he does make a pop culture reference, and I don't know what it is, but I know Sturm and Batarangs is involved.
I was just doing a bit anyway.
I like to point out these little technicalities.
I guess you're right. I guess while he's trying to fix the bomb correctly, he could have his TV on or something.
Yeah, I mean,
listening to an audiobook. Joker in this timeline, they have audiobooks by this point.
Plus, he wasn't always the Joker. He could have had downtime back when he was a hitman for Sal Valestra.
That's true.
He's just sitting there like, yeah, I knew you were there the whole time.
Maybe that's how he made all the money. It's like when he was a hitman, he invented computers, sold it to whomever, and then that's how he has money to get whatever technology he needs to do whatever. Like he already knows.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying ridiculous things. Don't take any of that seriously, anyone. The old marble on the floor trick.
It's actually Jawbreakers. They're in a candy factory. But where did that hole come into the wall from? Do you remember?
No.
And there's conveniently placed hole in the wall there. I would not want to work in this candy factory. Looking at the decorations in there. I mean, this looks like a really fucking bad Prodigy music video or something.
Yeah, I'm sure Joker bought stock in this company so he could control some aspect of the decorations in preparation for this moment. For the scene of his ultimate showdown, of his plan being revealed. This is crazy.
Huh?
This reveal is crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and what gets me, Terry doesn't... He doesn't know that they actually are one and the same. He always suspected they were working together.
Right. And that's what the audience thinks at this second. That's what I thought. First time I saw it.
Alright, they couldn't... That's a scary bear. It had all those sharp teeth.
Mm-hmm.
But he picked up this teddy bear, and it's... you move the arm, and it's got these chompy, bitey thingies. But... He's just haunted by the memory of the last time he encountered the Joker. He actually regrets killing him.
It's sort of some commentary on what fucking kidnappers do to kids. Like, he got kidnapped by this dude as a kid and fucking terrorized, and that's bothering him for the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we should do, is turn our movie into a PSA.
I especially don't want to do that because I hate movies that are like that.
I'm just kidding.
I admit that, did you ever see the Simpsons movie?
Yeah, I love the Simpsons movie.
I do too when it's being funny, but when it's trying to put all this public service into it, it really... I mean, I know they're just making fun of it, but it still just grates on my nerves, you know? It's just like, I'm here to watch The Simpsons be funny. I'm not here for social commentary. That's why I can't watch Family Guy anymore. Because, I mean, it's all social commentary now.
I love them both. But it's okay. Now, what is Batman, or what is Joker revealing? How did all this happen? He is Tim Drake.
Tim Drake transformed all of the werewolf into the Joker in front of Batman. It's revealed in Justice League Unlimited that he's actually using Project Cadmus technology that he stole from Amanda Waller and company.
Huh.
But yeah, what I have to wonder is that little pin on the back of his neck. That, it's got a little chippy thingy in it. You'd think Tim would have noticed that at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
But then again, it could be that when he transforms, it sort of surfaces. I didn't see it on his neck when he turned around at any earlier point.
Well, of course they wouldn't have drawn that to make us ask that question at an earlier point. But, okay, so, I mean, this is only the second time I've seen it, and I don't really understand how this works because I wasn't listening before. How is Joker and Tim Drake are the same person now?
Yeah.
Joker's brain is...
Basically, what has happened is that using genetics technology stolen from Project Cadmus, because Joker actually encountered Project Cadmus in Justice League, through controlling the first Wild Flush Gang. Well, or the first Royal Flush Gang. And,
by the way, I think ever since Terry arrived at this factory, we're in the final act.
Yeah, that'd be a good way to put it. Well, I think this movie's a lot easier to piece together act-wise than Mask of the Phantasm, and I think it does go in 5 acts.
Yeah,
which is it was part of what probably makes it so good.
Yeah,
but basically, it has basically it's genetics technology, and it sort of overrides Tim Drake's genetics and mind temporarily for a time with that of the Joker's, thus causing him to change appearance and recall the Joker's memories. But the Joker still has all of Tim Drake's memories too, which is the only reason he's such a good fighter at this point. He was never a really good fighty guy at the beginning of in any of his previous incarnations. It was only after he gained Tim Drake's knowledge that he was able to hold his own really in a fight against Batman.
I never really thought about that as far as the Tim Drake changing him here, but yeah, that's one thing I've always found really interesting about Joker is he's not like an impeccable fighter.
I love this part. See you around.
Hold it.
Like Batman would actually let him walk away.
Right. I mean, just laughs at him and starts kicking his ass. But, I mean, he's just so menacing.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Man, the Joker goes from, laughable but a force to be reckoned with to downright intimidating.
And this is the first time Joker and Terry have ever spoken.
Exactly.
Like, Joker's been a myth to Terry until this point.
What?
Not a myth.
He said earlier, Batman never once mentioned the Joker to Terry. Yeah, he said, Terry's first experience with the Joker himself was at the beginning of this movie when he showed up at that little ball thing,
right?
And he asked, of all your enemies, you've told me about all your enemies except him. He was the biggest, wasn't he?
Right. Yeah, I remember that now.
What are you doing? Fight dirty. The real Batman would never.
Ooh.
I don't know what that crunching is, but it doesn't sound healthy.
And this is such a great... I know I said this in a previous episode, but this is just such a great like use of character that Batman was always so serious. And like I think of Terry as more of a Spider-Man attitude. Like he has that sense of humor to use against the Joker in a way that Bruce never would have figured out because his life was just too dark.
Mm-hmm. But the crap, I was trying to remember what I was going to say because it was really relevant. But anyway, you think say a thing.
I don't know. Take your time. We're watching this movie. It's the climax.
We're trying to keep this interesting for our listeners.
Yeah.
But yeah, this. I really love how they just keep in with the characters. That I've never seen a character in any of these people's work do something that character wouldn't do. I mean, unless that character has actually changed as a person, examples being Two-Face.
Right.
But
and Batman throwing that blade earlier at Joker. Something had changed. He had like...
Yeah, he had snapped. He was just like, this is too much for him to handle. And I can't believe I actually noticed that. I mean, it never really occurred to me, because I've seen this movie, I've probably seen this movie a dozen times, and it never occurred to me that was actually, that would have killed him.
Right, yeah. I definitely didn't notice till you pointed it out.
Mm-hmm.
He gets such joy out of ending life.
But the one thing that I noticed, a completely coincidental parallel between this movie and our movie, is that, his first real big interaction as Batman with the Joker, they talk earlier in the film, but his only prolonged interaction with the Joker is, the last couple of minutes of the film, the climax of the film.
Right.
In our movie, as far as the screenplay is playing out in my head, Batman and Ra's al Ghul do not directly interact with one another until they are about to fight, and there's that dialogue about the guy that Ra's fought before.
Right.
And he explains the staff, and then that staff is used in the battle.
Yeah.
But
I love in movies when two people who are opposed can have a conversation about how they feel before going into their shit.
Yeah, I mean, Batman and Ra's are definitely on completely opposite terms, but they've always had a bit of a mutual respect towards one another, at least in terms of
knowing the other's a formidable opponent and an intelligent one at that.
It's like two people playing chess.
Yeah, exactly.
With
on a less chaotic level than with the Joker.
Yeah, I mean, with it, when we see there is completely different, because Joker doesn't really respect.
And if you never noticed
Batman
before, that's Harley Quinn.
But
yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she ended up surviving.
I'm surprised she still doesn't at least dress up. I mean, she's pretty crazy.
She got out of the game once she thought Joker was gone.
She probably married someone really sweet, had a nice house, beautiful yard.
Yeah, I like to think so.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was a pretty much happy ending for her. The Joker was what ruined her life, and after she managed to get away from that, it's like getting away from an abusive boyfriend.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, it's exactly that.
It is.
Yeah, exactly. All right, but what were you saying a second ago? You were saying, because I said...
But it's like, Batman and Ra's have this mutual respect towards one another, whereas Batman and the Joker never had that. The Joker can sit there and goad Batman, tell stuff to him. Batman cannot hold an actual conversation with the Joker. He has no patience for him.
Right.
He doesn't have a sense of humor, and even if he did, he wouldn't think that anything Joker had to say was funny.
Yeah.
He has... basically, every time I've ever seen him come up against the Joker, it has always been no nonsense. I'm here to kick your ass and stop you from what you're doing. With Ra's, even as much as he detests Ra's for everything that he's done, murdering a significant portion of the population of Earth, he can still sit there and actually listen to what he has to say.
Yeah. Because it's not chaotic. He could actually get information from something he's saying. Ra's never really lies.
No, he doesn't. I mean, there's some deception when they first meet, but that was a test. But ever since that point, this is so epic. He's just sitting there over the skyline, and he flies away into the night with all this epic music around him. You think he hears that music? Is that like playing in his headset?
I always like to believe that. Like at the end of the Matrix, Neo hangs up the phone, puts on his sunglasses, and flies away to Rage Against the Machine. I have to assume, since he's the one, that he cued Rage Against the Machine to start playing.
And everyone's just sitting there like, what the hell is going on?
Right. So that's Return of the Joker.
But we still have some stuff to talk about, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's break up this story down into its simplest 5 sentences sort of thing that we can do real quick. Act 1 is that, I'm guessing Act 1 is... the beginning of the film, the very beginning action sequence doesn't seem so much like... I guess it's technically part of Act 1, but it almost seems separate from the story, even though it's...
That's what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm saying. Like, the beginning of the movie just makes you feel like you're in that world that you're used to.
Exactly. And, I mean, it does come up later, but it pretty much functions by itself.
Right. Building from that familiar world, you go towards that first act break.
So, they go through that, and the first act...
So probably when the Joker announces himself.
Yeah, the act break is there, where first act is that stuff gets stolen, and the Joker reveals himself not just to the audience but to the people in
Gotham.
Therefore,
causing Bruce to say Terry can't go out anymore as Batman, and Terry quitting working for Bruce.
Mm-hmm. But I think, and is that the end of Act 1? Would you say, or
I don't know? Maybe that's the end of Act 2. But what happens between those 2 points? I think they go hand in hand, don't they? Joker comes back, therefore automatically Bruce is like, you can't do this anymore.
That's the end of your first act.
That's when our major characters make decisions.
Mm-hmm. And then the following act, Act 2, would be the...
Coming back together of the two?
Yeah, it's sort of the Joker is... It's the mayhem that the Joker's causing that does bring them back together. Or at least brings Terry back as Batman,
Well, Terry never stopped being Batman. He just wasn't listening to Bruce, right?
Well, he threw the suit down. He
gave
the suit back.
Okay, he did.
So, for most of a night, he wasn't Batman. But that act ends when, right after Terry saves Bruce from the Joker gas, and hits him with the thing and takes him. The third act is Terry learning about...
the flashback there.
Terry's learning about what happened in the past. The fourth act is, okay, now the Joker is blowing shit up, and he blew up that boat and everything,
setting up for our end game.
That's the spiral. Everything's sort of fucking in on itself until Terry shows up. Act 5, the Joker is revealed, his ass gets kicked, Terry flies away after Bruce and Tim make up, and then everything's.
So a shorter version of that is the first act, regular world until our two characters split up. And then Act 2 is them realizing they don't function as well in their world that is chaotic right now until they come back together. That act ends when they get back together. Act 3 is them together working until they learn more information. Act 4 is having learned that information, they go towards their final goal against the Joker, and the Joker tries to stop that. Act 5 is the final showdown of the Joker against our characters.
Oh, okay.
Does that sound right?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I didn't think they'd get 5 acts in a 70-minute movie.
It worked well. I mean, I was completely guessing before we started that this movie had 5 acts. It could be when they wrote it. It could be that there's only 3. They could only consider 3 things act breaks, but I don't think it's like that. I think this is a 5-act story.
I agree.
And as discussed before, that's the best kind of story. But, Sean, this is completely unrelated to this. Imagery for you. As, your lead animator. I came up with the perfect animated allegory, I guess, to the scene at the end where Talia's mind is written out, and then she opens her eyes, and it's not her anymore. Here's how you imagine that. Here's how it's playing through in my mind. Watch an episode of Avatar: The Last Airbender and watch Aang suddenly go into the Avatar state, where he just opens his eyes and that's it. He's there.
Yeah.
I mean, that sort of...
Yeah, that's almost exactly what I was picturing.
He's, you can tell it's the same face,
but
it's not the same person.
Yeah.
It's a completely different person behind him. And so, that's... I thought of that as a good way to describe it, and it seems that you've already thought of that.
I have a random question. What makes you guys think that Batman is such a great hero for Gotham? Like, why do you think he's great? Or do you?
So we just got asked, in case you audience didn't hear, why we think Batman is such a great hero. Because he cares about justice and what is right, regardless of what laws on paper or God or a bad guy or the newspaper or the TV says. He accepts his duties as the guy who needs to protect everyone.
And he can do what can't be done.
And
he's the only one with the power, and monetary and physically and
he
intelligently.
He has power, and he uses it the way he sees fit. And I think the biggest thing about him that speaks to me is all the self-sacrifice he goes through.
Yeah.
He, as Batman, his whole life couldn't ever hold any... He never got married. He never had kids. He never really established himself outside of what was already established for him from birth, is that he was the inheritor of Wayne Enterprises. And, I mean, he did some good as Bruce Wayne for the world. They developed some technology that people use all over the place in that world. But, for the most part, Bruce Wayne never really got to live because Batman was taking up all of his time, and he sacrificed, because of his parents' death, he sacrificed his life in a way, not his physical being, but his ability to live his own life for the good of the lives of everyone else in Gotham City.
And it's inspirational. Like, if you do that for one person, it's doing a good thing. But like, if he dedicates his whole life and he saves an entire city. If you just dedicate one day of your life, how many people do you affect in a positive way? Like, that's just a really positive message to take from it.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't want anyone else to grow up like he did.
Yeah, and like I said in an episode of Justice League, when they were fighting the alternate universe Justice League, the Justice Lords, that had become totalitarian and taken over the world and remade it in their image of peace. Batman and Justice Lord Batman were fighting, and they were having this conversation, and Justice Lord Batman says, "We have created what you have always wanted, a world where no 8-year-old boy will ever have to lose his parents because of a punk with a gun." And it's just like that. That is ultimately what he wants.
Yeah, my thing is, though, I mean, he keeps putting them back in Arkham, yet they keep escaping. And, his vigilante acts, cause some of these villains to show up.
I mean, that's a metaphor for how our world works. You're never going to stop all the bad guys. All you can do is do your best to prevent bad things from happening, and do your best to make up for any bad things that have happened. Like, bad things are always going to happen in this world. There's always going to be someone that's wanting something for themselves or not caring about other people. And all you can do is fight that fight every single day of your life, just like Batman.
And if you're trying to argue that he's the cause of all this, look at Iron Man. Every single one of Iron Man's enemies uses Iron Man's technology. It uses either his suit or a ripoff of his suit or something powered by his arc reactor. If he hadn't have made that arc reactor, none of these people would have become villains. But there is always a balance.
Batman's jumping into something that was going on anyway.
But there is always a balance. For every good, there has to be an evil. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Without bad, you can't appreciate good.
Right.
And it works that way. And I think, going back to what I was saying about the whole self-sacrifice thing, I really, really hate to make this allegory because I'm not religious at all, but Batman is in a way very similar to Jesus.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I'm not saying everyone get down and worship Batman. Batman can probably hold his own a lot better in a fight. But yeah, it's here comes the Westboro Baptist Church protests right now because I said that. But yeah, it's just.
I mean, they were half our listeners.
But yeah, he manages to sacrifice his life, but not die. He continues giving his life to these people in an effort to restore good. And I think that's what's so powerful about him.
Boom.
Swear to me.